Hey, it's Sri here. In today's video, we're going to talk about 3 tips that you can begin to take to be able to manage your emotions in your marriage or your relationship. Now, before we dive in, I just want to let you know that I'm opening up a few limited spots for my free masterclass training, which talks you through the 3 steps that my client Sarah used to be able to save her marriage in less than 60 days. You'll absolutely love it. So make sure you stick around to the end, and I'll give you all the details on how you can access that training for free. Make sure you click the subscribe button below so that every Sundays and Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're notified of all the new videos that I create every single week to help you to save your marriage, to be able to improve your communication, and to be able to become the best version of yourself as well. If you haven't met me before, my name's Rajasekar, and I help women to be able to save their marriage or relationship by reclaiming their self-worth and self-confidence, and also teaching them specifically about male psychology as well. Now, when a couple is on the verge of a divorce, naturally they step into a place of fear. Now, what is that fear of? Well, primarily it's the fear of loss. And when there is a fear of losing something, we completely spin out of control and we end up in survival mode. And what does survival mode do? Well, it forces us to completely protect ourselves. Now, while you might be sitting there and thinking, what's wrong with that? Well, protecting yourself is okay in theory, but the issue is that when we're in a relationship or marriage and then we're potentially going to lose the other person, we're dominated by the ego. Now, what do I mean by that? The ego is essentially a collection of all of our beliefs, our emotions, our experiences that we've had over the years. So essentially, we make decisions based on our past conditioning. But the problem is that if we've been living in a place of fear or anxiety or stress or any of those negative emotions for a long period of time, then that's going to rule our decision making and the actions that we need to take. And hence, when people are backed into a corner, when they're in a really, really difficult situation, you begin to see their true colors. Now, what do I mean? Is that when people are in that place, those who step into a lot of anger, normally in other areas of their lives, step into increased amounts of anger in their relationship. Those who are living in a place of love regularly tend to experience more love in those moments, or they come from a place of love in terms of their reaction. For the vast majority of people, they tend to come from a place of fear. And what happens when that fear takes over? We manipulate. We hire private detectives. We resort to alcohol and drugs and so forth. And that prevents us from being able to make the best decisions that we can for the greatest good of all concerned. Now, the problem is that some of these behaviors that I've just described never get to the root cause. They never get to actually address the fundamental issues that have been in the relationship for a while, or what you've intuitively known for some time anyway. Now, just to be really blunt, and I hope you're okay with me being direct here, but a lot of times people say to me, oh, Sri, my husband just cheated and I don't even know why it happened, or he's just decided he wants a divorce and it's completely blindsided me. It just happened overnight. And I'm going to be really honest in saying that I call complete BS on that one. Because typically in my experience, I've never seen a couple where all of their needs were being met, where they were having all this passion and love and variety and spontaneity and all this amazing stuff, and then one person just goes off and cheats. I've never seen it before. And so the thing we have to recognize is, where were the red flags? Where were the little things over the years that compounded? And what this does is allows us to take ownership and allows us to get to a place of empowerment within the relationship or marriage. And this can actually help to provide a little bit of certainty and clarity as to where things started to deteriorate or, diminish a little bit. The short of it is that our emotional state dictates everything. If we're in a crappy state, we're going to make crappy decisions. If we're in an amazing, elevated, lighthearted state, we're going to make better decisions. So the question is how do we go about doing that? Well, I'm going to talk you through 3 initial emotional state shifts that you can make to begin to get things back on track. Now, the first emotional state shift that you can begin to make is recognizing the gift. Okay, what do I mean by that? Now, I referred to this in my previous video where I talked about how a lot of the times in relationships or marriages, when there are problems, people don't address the issues that have been going on for a long time until someone actually says, honey, I've cheated on you, or I think it's best that we have a divorce. It's not until that point that people actually do anything about it. But there is a huge gift that comes when we can actually understand, okay, how have I shown up in this marriage? How were my behaviors? Did I spend all this time focusing on the kids and not on the marriage? How was I actually coming from a place of love in the marriage? Did I show up much in that way? Was I constantly getting into that place of anger? Was I criticizing lots, etc., etc.? And that obviously goes both ways, but we want to recognize that there is a huge, huge gift in all of this. Because I believe that, every experience that we have, even if it's perceived as a negative, is a gift. We have to recognize that. I can look back on my life and all of the challenging things that I've had to deal with, and every single one of them, whilst they were absolutely painful when I was going through it, I look back now and I am so grateful for all of them. Because here's the thing, we either grow or we die. And we need these negative experiences or perceived negative experiences to actually elevate who we are, to become the best versions of ourselves. So the first thing that you can do is start to recognize the gift. How can you show up better? What are the wounds that have been triggered inside? What are the fears that are coming up? And how can you work through those challenges so that you can become more and love more and connect more and do all of these things and become the best version of you? It's a beautiful gift. You have to remember that. And the second emotional shift that we can make is to step into gratitude. If we can recognize that there is actually so much to be grateful for right now, and trust me, there is. For the vast majority of people who are going to watch this video, you have access to a mobile phone where you can watch anything, anywhere, anytime. I mean, we're living in the greatest time in the history of the earth, I guess probably minus COVID. But the point is that when we recognize that there is so much to be grateful for, then what happens is our brain changes its focus from everything that's wrong to everything that's right. And just placing your attention on what is right and what you can be grateful for can immediately create a state shift, because it's impossible to feel fearful and grateful at the same time. So if you can get into a regular practice of focusing on what there is to be grateful for, and as I said, I guarantee you there are plenty of things to be grateful for. There's so much to be grateful for. Your kids, your family, the house that you live in, finances, etc., etc. There's so much to be grateful for. So just remember that, because the vast majority of the population of the world is living in poverty. And so this is something that we have to make sure we find true joy in and true appreciation in. Because, I have been to India numerous times, and honestly, I see the happiest people in the world are the ones who have nothing or have little to nothing. And whenever I've seen people who have so much, who are multi-millionaires and so forth, I see how miserable they are. So it's so important to recognize that there is so much to be grateful for. Now, just in the comment section below, I just want you to answer the question, what's the single biggest challenge that you face when it comes to managing your emotions? Just quickly write your answers below. Now, the third shift that you can begin to make is to stop indulging in your pain. Now, this is going to trigger some of you when you listen to this. And I want you to know that I'm always coming from a place of love whenever I say these things, because I want to free you from the pain. And I've been there before when we're going through some challenges and we want to go and talk about it. We want to jump on forums and, post about how much pain we're in and the challenges and so forth. And the more we do that, the more it gets imprinted in our mind. And the more you allow that to continue on, the more you'll stay on that path. And we become addicted to the pain. Why? Because we know we can feel that. There's a feeling of certainty that comes with it. It's uncomfortable, it's horrible. But there are so many people that I've come across, including myself, where even though their circumstances are actually wonderful, they always find a way to gravitate back towards pain. And even if, individuals are in a really, really difficult space, they find themselves always living in that place over and over and over, because it creates that feeling of certainty. And I know that, like I say, that sounds kind of a bit bogus and a bit crazy, but it is. That's what happens as human beings. If you look at the news, if we look at how the news functions, it's primarily negative. Everything that comes on at the beginning of the news is all negative. Why? Because people love drama. But we need to spend more time being able to focus on what's good, on the lessons that we can learn, on how we can grow, and to not keep indulging in our pain. Because it is so easy to do that. And like I say, I have done it so many times in my life. And there were times where I was living in pain, and then when I shifted my emotional state, I actually found myself almost wanting to get back to that place where I felt uncomfortable and in pain, because I had known it was comfortable, because I had experienced that for such a long time. And when we've experienced something that's, so common to us, then we want to stay in that place even if it's not for our greatest good. It's no different to people who go and win lottery. If your mindset is that you are in a poor place, but you suddenly stumble across lots of money, because your identity, your ego is still at this level, you'll find a way to blow it, or you'll get into a place of depression, or you'll end up having to deal with a lot of problems as a result of it. And there's so many studies to show this as well. So you need to remember to stop indulging in your pain if you're going down that rabbit hole. It doesn't serve you, it doesn't serve anyone. And just remembering to actually embrace gratitude, to embrace the gift, and to embrace the joyful emotions that you can shift right now is going to make a massive change in terms of the pathway that you're on. And you're going to actually make good decisions for your future, and it's going to result in the best outcome for all concerned. And when you're having those conversations with your husband, it's going to allow you to stay in a centered place as well, rather than veering off course and getting into those places of anger and frustration and resentment and all of those other negative emotions. Now, like everything, there's always a huge amount of depth involved. To just apply these 3 steps is going to be a wonderful start, but you also want to make sure you dive nice and deep into really making sure that this sticks and that you soak this in. So it's not just a quick fix and it's not just a one-off thing, but it's actually a long-term shift. So if you're wanting to make those long-term changes, then I would highly recommend that you go ahead and you register for my masterclass, where I talk you through the 3 steps that my client Sarah used to be able to save her marriage in less than 60 days. It's an amazing story. You'll absolutely love it. Just click on the description section below and there's a registration link to that masterclass. Just choose a time that works for you, and you can go through and learn those 3 steps in depth and begin to apply those immediately. As I said, you're going to really enjoy it. Make sure you bring along your iPad or your notepad, etc. And make sure you write down plenty of notes so that you soak it all in. And make sure you stick around to the very end, because I'm going to give you a free gift that I know you're going to absolutely love. Now, secondly, in the description section below, you will see a link to my private Facebook group. You can go in there, request access, and you can connect with me and some other incredible women who have been making amazing shifts in their marriages. I know it's going to be a huge inspiration for you as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've liked it, hit the like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to learn 3 tips that you can begin to take to prevent arguments with your spouse, click this video above. And if you want to learn the #1 mindset shift that you can take to begin to save your marriage, click this video above. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.